Mm. Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of Sober Bliss Meets. Today I'm joined by the fabulous Sarah. You might know her from Sobalicious. If you don't, then we'll talk a bit about that further on in the interview. But welcome, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Gail. It's really lovely to be here. I'm very, very excited to be here today.
Yeah, because today is a special day for you, isn't it?
It is. So, yeah, today I've reached 1,000 days being alcohol free. So, I can't think of a better way to celebrate than to be here and doing this podcast with you. So, thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh,
It's a really special thing to do, especially today.
oh, you're welcome. It is such an amazing achievement. So how are you feeling then about being 1,000 days alcohol free?
I think today is quite a significant day. I mean, it just feels, I feel so happy. Um, I am really proud of myself. Something I don't allow myself to feel very often. Well, I don't know if it's a case of allow myself, but yeah, I was thinking about it yesterday, and I was thinking about the journey and how much I've changed over the last 1,000 days.
Yeah.
And if you had told me 1,000 days ago where I'd be today,
Mm.
I would have laughed, and I would have, said, "Oh no, not me! That I'm not going to be sober." It was, yeah, it's just, yeah, it's just been such a massive change in my life, for the better.
Mm.
It's one of the best things I've ever done. Um, it's something I don't really talk about a lot with people outside the sober community, and it's something that I guess today I've realised that I shouldn't be ashamed. I think there's so much shame around not drinking, and I've not really got my head around what that's all about. I don't necessarily understand why I feel that shame. But today I don't feel the shame. I just feel immensely proud and happy and full of joy, and that there's just so much to celebrate, so many things that I have managed to do in those 1,000 days that if I'd been drinking, I'd never have found the time. And yeah, I would recommend it to everyone. I mean, if you could bottle that feeling up and
Oh,
just give somebody a little taster of how much better life is when
mm.
you are not feeling anxious and uh, tired and
Mm.
hurting. And yeah, I feel like, being alcohol free just opens the world up. I think when you're drinking, the world just gets smaller and smaller and smaller and darker, and you don't necessarily even know that you're in that space.
Mm.
You don't see it because that's just, well, for me at least, that's all I knew and that's all I've ever known.
Mm.
So yeah, since making that decision, the world has just, and all the opportunities there have opened up, and I feel like the world is in color now. Maybe the
Yeah.
world before was more sort of black and white, and now the world is multicolored. And somebody once described it as seeing the world in HD. Like
Yeah.
it's a lot brighter, and yeah, I think the feelings you feel as well. They're. I'm not sure I had the same level of feelings that as I do now. And so that's sort
Yeah.
of like a double-edged sword. It's, sometimes those feelings are hard to manage. I I sort of feel like, in a way, it's like being reborn.
Mm.
Sometimes you feel things for the first time like a child, and it can be really overwhelming, and it can be really hard to know what to do with those feelings when you're so used to just reaching out for a drink because you feel down or scared or hurt or whatever, you know, those feelings are. So that's been, yeah, that's another thing that I think has been added to my life. But obviously, yeah, there's all the joyous feelings as well, and feeling happy and not feeling all the negative stuff, you know, that I used to feel like anxious, and I was, you know, I think, you know, nobody really talks about the link between alcohol and anxiety and depression, and I think I wish I'd known that years ago.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it wasn't really until I stopped did I think, oh gosh, I was actually probably a bit depressed. I just thought it was normal to feel that way all the time. And then, you know, when I stopped feeling that way, I was like, oh gosh, that wasn't normal at all. But you don't realize it until you're on the other side of it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I did go through a very dark period of feeling anxious and depressed, and I had CBT. That was before I gave up drinking. And I think that the CBT helped me to discover, well, it was almost like developing a toolbox of skills that you carry with you forever, ways of managing your anxiety and stuff. But what it did is it sort of shone a torch. I was sort of forced to look inwards at what was making me unhappy and try to break that cycle of negative thoughts. And for me, that was almost like a starting point for trying to work out what was causing me to feel anxious and depressed. And it took me a long time to actually pinpoint that it was the drink. And it wasn't really the reason I gave up drinking. It was for me, it was more like the physical side of things. Like I was getting very, very bad headaches, like really bad, that would stop me from sleeping, and bad back, terribly bad back, to the point where I couldn't walk. And I didn't put it down to drinking because I was in denial. And I thought that it must be something terribly wrong with my head. I must have this brain tumor, or that there must be something really bad going on in my brain. And the same with my back. I thought, oh, there must be something wrong with my spine. And I'd been for all sorts of tests and things like that, and they didn't find anything wrong. But yeah, I did listen to it was dry January in March in 2018, and I listened to Claire Pooley talking on the radio, and she was so relatable that it made me, I think it planted a seed that made me put perhaps some question marks around the drinking, and thought, actually, I drink a bit like that. Yeah. And then it took me another 3 months before I decided to stop drinking. On the day I decided to stop drinking, I had an appointment booked with the doctor to say, you know, please help me, I'm feeling wretched. And at the time I'd had this headache that had gone on and on and on for such a long time, and I felt like my head was going to split in two. It was just such a horrible pain, and I sat there on the bed with my head in my hands like this, and I just thought, right, if the doctor asks you how much you drink and you tell them the truth, the first thing they're going to say is, well, you need to cut down on how much you're drinking. And so I sort of had a chat with myself and just thought, if you really want to get better and you want this doctor to just wave a magic wand and fix you, the first thing you need to do is, you know, stop drinking. So yeah, that's what I did. And I've made that decision. And I remember I met my mum for lunch that day after I had seen the doctor, and I said, I'm not going to drink anymore. I've decided I'm going to give up. And she was a very big drinker, and she had stopped drinking, and she'd gone through periods in her life of drinking and not drinking and drinking and not drinking. And at that point, she wasn't drinking as well. And she said, "That's great." And then from that moment on, I just knew that I'd had enough. I just had enough. I was just sick and tired. Literally, I felt sick and tired of the drink. I felt like my body was just aching and screaming out, giving me all these signals. You know, I'd had sort of mental health issues. I'd had my headaches. I'd had my back pain, all sorts of things that were trying to tell me, you know, just stop. Like, when are you gonna stop, man? You know. And so I told everyone, I said, "I've had enough, that's it, I'm not drinking." And I don't think anybody believed me. And I remember my brother-in-law whispering to my husband I think perhaps on the holiday that we went on, where I packed the car sort of with alcohol-free beers. He said to my husband, "Let's see if she gets through Christmas." But that's almost like a red rag, isn't it, to someone that's, you know, determined. It's sort of like, oh, okay, well, but it's a bit mean to say that as well. But it's I didn't hear him, luckily, because I think I would have probably flown off the handlebar of it if I'd heard it. But my husband told me later, and I thought to myself, well, I'll show you.
Yeah, you have, and more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just walk us through then, you know, the early days, because a lot of people struggle in the beginning, don't we? We made the decision and then it's like, okay, now what do I do? How do I cope with these feelings? How do I fill the time? How do I deal with cravings and all the rest of it? So how did you manage in the very beginning, and how are you managing now?
I think that process it changes depending. Yeah, it has. You know, in the very, 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 very beginning, I remember going to Sainsbury's, and I remember thinking, right, I've got to buy stuff which is going to taste nice, that's going to replace the wine. And I think that sort of 5 o'clock period for me, like when the kids come home from school and getting the dinner ready, and that sort of time was the most tricky point. So if I could get through that period, then the evening would be fine. And actually, I used to take myself to bed really early, and I still do. And my habits have changed. So I bought some, I didn't go for the alcohol-free drinks initially. I bought things like flavored soya milk, and I'm trying to think what the flavor would have been. Maybe something like chocolate or hazelnut or something very weird that I've never drunk since, and I only drank it for a very small window. And I would have something like one of these chocolatey drinks with a slice of cake or something, sort of to you know, feel like I was rewarding myself with something instead of the wine. And what else did I do? I have I bought some herbal teas to help me sleep, and I'd go to bed at, let's say, 8 o'clock. I put the kids to bed and I'd get into bed at 8. I wouldn't go to sleep at 8, but I'd take my herbal tea up to bed with me, and that habit is still with me now. I still go to bed really early. I don't always sleep, but the fact of just sort of going upstairs, again, it was a new habit that I created to sort of break the routine that I was of just sitting there in front of the telly drinking. So I just, so I've carried on doing that. After a while, I then started to drink the alcohol-free beers, and I would always have alcohol-free beers nearby. And I think by then I would have been going into the summer, because I gave up in March. So I found the summer months quite challenging, because there's just something in my head about being out in the sun, all the beer gardens and barbecues that you'd be invited to and stuff like that. So I drank a lot of alcohol-free beer in the early days, and that was great, you know. And I filled up my time. I found I had a lot of free time on my hands, and I started to fill up my time with things that were fun, that gave me joy. I had like a bucket list of things that I'd always wanted to do. And I started to work through my list of things that I've always wanted to do. And I sort of saw it as a new start. It was like, okay, right, what do you want to do with your life? This is your life. How are you going to fill it? So I joined a samba band. And I'd always wanted to join a samba band, and it was one of those jokes I had with my husband, which was sort of like, oh right, because I've always got loads of ideas of things I want to do, and I always say I'm going to do it and never do, or I do it for a little bit and then give it up or what have you. But so with the samba band, he was like, oh right, yeah, you know, you're never going to do that, are you? And so yeah, I did. And I play a massive drum, which is called a surdo. And there's about 70 people in the band, and yeah, we rehearse once a week for 3 hours on a Wednesday evening, and then there's different gigs that they do. So that's been a really positive way of connecting with other people, doing something sociable that's not about drinking, doing something fun that takes you out of your head, that's just, it's in a way it's mindful, because you're sort of just in the moment, you know, you're concentrating on what you're doing and you're trying to keep in time with the people around you. You're looking at the maestro to see what, you know, signs he's giving you. So there's no time to think about the other stuff that's going on. So it's a brilliant way of sort of disengaging from your head and escaping, which is the thing I think a lot of people, that's why people drink, isn't it? Because they want to escape from life. And so if you can find a healthy way to escape from your thoughts or your everyday life or your stress, then I would you know, highly recommend that people look for just different hobbies, different things, whether it's running or yoga or painting, or we did a photography workshop. We ran one in, I'm trying to remember whether it was January or February of this year. One of my friends is a photographer, and she came over from New York to do a workshop for Sobalicious. And she has a book called The Art of Intuitive Photography. And so her workshop was all about just focusing on what's around you. So rather than, you know, you can, when you're taking a picture normally, you sort of like, I don't know, looking at it around, but if you concentrate on the small little details, and she just had a fabulous way of teaching us all. And I am definitely not a very good photographer, but by the end of the day, it was about it sort of taught you to be mindful and to sort of tune into the small things in your life, which, you know, you could apply that to so many things. I think you know, getting sober, it's really important to try and appreciate the small things. And to be grateful. And I know that people talk about writing gratitude lists and stuff, and probably people think, oh, why would you do that? But that is so helpful, just to sort of take some time to, you know, stop and smell the flowers, you know, as it were. And one of the things that I did when I went to I learned in my CBT, it wasn't about a case about learning, it was something I discovered, is that to feel happy, you know, you should just, like, say you have a coffee and you get joy from your coffee. Normally we neck our coffee down and we don't really appreciate it, but it's just, you know, having that coffee and appreciating it sip by sip, and just taking the time to think, I'm just going to sit here and enjoy my coffee, even if it's for 1 minute, and just you know. And I feel like by not drinking, I have slowed down. My whole pace of life has sort of slowed down a lot. And what I was going to say is, one of the things I like to do is in the morning go outside my back door with no shoes on, so I have nothing on my feet, and whether it's really cold weather, or it's been raining, or it might be snowy or icy on the ground, or it might be warm, it might be a nice summer's day, and you just put your feet out there on the ground, and you sort of connect with the world. And I look around and look at the sky, and then I listen to the birds. Might not be for very long, but just to do that once a day just helps me to focus on the nice things of the day. So it's a nice practice to sort of do first thing in the morning.
I love that.
Yeah. But I also, I'm talking of filling time, I got sidetracked, sorry. I did some volunteering at the winter shelter as well, which and I cooked in a kitchen, and then sat there and ate with the guests and stuff like that. I'm trying to think of other things I did to fill my time. So I'd have samba band on one night, helping cooking in the kitchens of the winter shelter. And then I enrolled in doing a counselling course, which was another evening. So I just filled my evenings up, so I wasn't sitting there thinking, oh, I really want to drink, I really want to drink. And that definitely really helped me get through the early stages. And I would say that my first year was really, really busy in the evenings. And those evenings that I wasn't busy, I'd, as I say, take myself off to bed really early with my herbal tea and just enjoy catching up on sleep, because I think in the early days you can feel very, very, very tired. I mean, it's hard to remember back in how it was, but I'm pretty sure I was exhausted. I think your body needs a long time to heal and to get over, that poison you put in your body. Did you find that?
Yeah, absolutely. Felt like I could sleep forever, and sometimes I would have a nap because my wider clock was 2:30, 3:00. So I would take myself off for a nap, like a siesta, as it is in Spain. And then I would get up and I would still go to bed quite early and still sleep. So yeah, I do think that we need to listen to our bodies, and if it's crying out for rest and sleep, just go with it, because it is surprising how tired that you can get. I think it's the detoxing and the healing and your body kind of getting back to what it was before, which takes a lot of energy, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
So tell us a little bit then about what you're doing now, because I know you from Sobalicious, but you're also a fundraiser, you've got your own business, so life at the moment is very rich and full, isn't it? So tell us a little bit about that. Where can people find you with Sobalicious, for example, and about your fundraising that you do too?
So I started Sobalicious in August last year, in 2019, and I wanted to set something up which initially I thought would just be a local group for people like me. I went to a wonderful Club Soda event, which was a meetup in Tunbridge Wells, and I had such an amazing time. I very nearly didn't go because I had terrible social anxiety, and I just thought, oh, I don't want to go. And then I thought, no, you've got to go. And I pushed myself to go, and I met some amazing people, mainly women. And I felt really excited afterwards. I felt really just having that connection with people that were similar to me and understood how it felt was just so powerful, that I thought that I wanted to do it again, and the meetups with Club Soda were all over the country, and I thought, no, I want to do that locally to me, and I wonder if I could do that. So that's how that started, and then it's really grown in a very organic way. I have never had a plan. I've not got an agenda, or it's just grown through word of mouth. I'm on Instagram. I have an Instagram account which is called Sobalicious as well, and a Facebook group. I have organised, I haven't count how many, so I am roughly guessing, let's say 15 events where people have met up for coffees and brunches, and we've done a photography workshop, we did a yoga gong bath, we did a what do you call that, I want to say forest collection. No, foraging is what I'm trying to say. We did a foraging walk with a guided person who knows all about foraging. We had a makeup class once. I mean, we've done some really fun, lovely things. Obviously, during the lockdown, that has changed. So our last meetup was in February this year. It's gone online, and we do now have 2 group chats a week, and what else are we doing? We do a yoga on a Sunday online, which is it's more of a sort of relaxation sort of evening. It starts at 7:30 and normally finishes about 9, and it's more about the breath work. And actually during the class quite often I'm asleep by the end of it because it's so relaxing. And we have a monthly book club which is run by one of our admin, who's called Janine, yeah, I'm not much of a reader, so I don't attend the book clubs because I let Janine runs them. She's an avid reader, so we've got I think we've had about 3 or 4 book clubs so far. Sobalicious is a non-profit organisation. It's not been set up to make any money. It's a free organisation, and the only thing that I have done is for each of the events I raise money for NACOA, which is the National Association for Children of Alcoholics, I've raised about over £800 since August last year for NACOA. So and people have basically contributed to, they've trying to think what the word is, donate. They've donated to that. So I should really thank the people that have attended all the events, because they've helped me to raise that money, which is amazing. Actually the lady Mindy who did our photography workshop, she donated quite a substantial amount. She donated I think about £300 as well, so I owe her a massive thank you. And I was fortunate enough to be invited to the Houses of Parliament for their they have a yearly event in the Houses of Parliament where they have different guest speakers, and Callum Best is the is he a patron? I'm not sure if he's a patron or an ambassador. I've probably got the wrong term, but he's one of them. And they had some amazing speakers. They had Jonathan Ashworth. He is a Labour, I can't remember his title, a Labour health.
He's the Shadow Health Secretary.
So he did a speech. It was incredibly moving to listen to all these people talking about alcohol and the effects that it's had on them growing up. It was really moving, so I'm very proud to be doing fundraising for them. It's just such an amazing little charity. They've been going for about 30 years, and they have a helpline, and they help people of all ages. So it's the name suggests it's for children, and it is for children, but it's also for people that are adults that have been affected by parents who drink too much. So yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant, Sarah. I think what I'll do is I'll put a link in the show notes of how people can, donate or contact you if anybody wants to do that.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Yeah, there's a link on the Instagram page for anyone who wants to donate, or if anybody's been affected by parents who drink too much. The helpline is there, and they are amazing people. I was lucky enough to be involved in one of their training days, and the people that man those helplines are just incredibly special people. So, and they have training to know how to help and to listen, and sometimes just having someone there to listen is so powerful. Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll definitely get that in. Thank you. Wow, so you've got a lot going on. You've been through such a lot. Today is an amazing day to celebrate your 1,000-day anniversary. And this is being recorded at kind of Christmas time-ish. So just before we go, what tips or advice have you got for anybody who is planning on having or thinking about having or wondering if they can enjoy an alcohol-free Christmas and festive season? Because this time of year tends to be like alcohol is everywhere. People begin to question or doubt their decision, or they just say, well, I might as well just wait till January. But personally, I find that Christmases are so much better when you don't drink, but it can be hard to understand that. So what advice or tips have you got? This will be Sober Christmas number.
This will be my third one. Yeah. I think Sober Christmas is really, really difficult. I won't lie. And I think, what makes it really difficult is the adverts and on the telly. They're just constant bombardment of, pouring this and pouring that. And I think that is just cruel. And I just hope that one day that those adverts will be banned, a bit like the cigarette adverts. I just hope that we move in that direction. So in terms of my tips, the first one would actually be record the programs that you want to watch. And the reason I say that is so that you can skip forward through the adverts and you don't have to sit there and watch them and put yourself through that, because they are such a tease and it doesn't help, and you do have fear of missing out, and it's just not, it's just horrible. Or don't watch telly at all, and the other tip would be sort of along similar lines. Maybe get your shopping delivered and do some online shopping. And the reason I say that is because going to the supermarket at this time of year is also really, really hard, because wherever you look, there's promotions for this wine or these beers, and I mean, I'm sure everybody would say that, that's the thing. It's just so tempting, and your brain plays these horrible tricks on you and goes, oh, come on, it's Christmas. But just, it is so much in your face. So be prepared, I would say. There are some amazing websites. The Wise Bartender has only alcohol-free drinks on it. If you put in, I've got a promo code, which is just Sobalicious. If you put in the code, you get a discount. And they do basically most drinks that you possibly buy that are alcoholic, they do an alcohol-free version. So go and buy all your alcohol-free. They do even do alcohol-free Baileys now, which I'm like, oh, I must get that, because I used to really love a Baileys. They do some lovely ciders. And I found Sainsbury's alcohol-free selection is definitely the widest, and there is just so much on offer now. Go and stock up. Don't just leave it to the last minute and then just cave because you've got nothing there. As definitely plan. I would also say to tell everyone in advance. I mean, I know there's that shame around not, you know, about telling people you don't drink, but I would say tell people in advance that you're not drinking, and just try to explain why. Try and be honest and just say, you know, it doesn't do me any good. I feel so much better without drinking. It was really affecting my health.
Yeah.
I know that some people tell porky pies to, you know, to make it easier, but I would urge people, just be honest and say, look, it wasn't helping me, and I feel a lot better without it. And then hopefully people won't put the pressure on you to join in and drink, because a lot of people, that's the thing I think people struggle with when they've got friends and family go, oh, why aren't you drinking? Oh, come on, it won't hurt. What, you can just have one, can't you? You weren't that bad. And just try and ignore that. Just emphasize how much better you feel without the drink, and your true friends will respect you and hopefully support your decision. I would also say really urge people to connect with other sober people, even if it's just in a virtual way online. There's so many groups out there now, and you know, I could list so many, but I mean, obviously I run Sobalicious, and we have these group chats, and there's been weeks when I've really struggled emotionally, and I've thought, oh, I don't really want to go to the group chat because I look at me, I've got big puffy eyes and I feel really sad, and it's on those that's right. And I thought, well, gosh, I'm hosting these chats for everyone else. I should go, and I should be real, and just, and you know what, I went and I cried, and everybody was just lovely, and that's the thing, it's just you know, to have that connection with people who understand is it's a real comfort, and it gives you real strength. And even if, you know, you've fallen off the wagon and you're back on day one, and you wanted to come to the group and just have a chat and listen, and you know, people sometimes are too shy to put the camera on, or feel a pressure that they have to talk. We always say to people, just come listen, because, you know, other people's stories are so inspiring. I remember when I went to that Club Soda event, one of the women that I was opposite, she I said to her, oh, how long have you been sober for? And she said that she had been sober for 6 weeks. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, 6 weeks, and she's already out here like socializing. Oh, she's so brave. And I said, wow, that's amazing. 6 weeks and you're out here, you know, socializing. She said, well, actually, she said, I was sober for 8 years. And on my 50th birthday, I had a glass of champagne, because I thought, well, it's my 50th, you know, I can have a glass. And she said from that point, she was then drinking again for another 1.5 years before she managed to get sober again. And she was at that 6 week point. And, you know, that story in itself, I carry that with me. It's like a gift that she gave me. I've never seen that lady ever since. But I really think I thank her for that, because, you know, on the days where I've struggled, or, you know, had crises and thought, oh, I could really do with a drink, you know, I sort of think, don't be fooled into thinking you can just have that one. So you know, sharing space with other people and connecting with other people can be so comforting and so powerful, and can give you that strength. Or somebody might say something that just clicks with you and helps you at a time that you need it, or your story might help someone else. So that would be my other tip, is to try and connect with other people. Go for a walk if you're having a stressful time at home over Christmas with your family, because it can be very, very stressful. Just give yourself permission and to say to your family, I just need a bit of time to go and have a walk, because I find going outdoors and being with nature very, very calming. And sometimes that's what we need to do. We need to remind ourselves that, you know, it's okay to take that time away, and to, you know, an hour's walk could make the difference between you wanting to have a drink and not having a drink. So it's much healthier to go out there and have a walk.
Yeah, it is.
What are your top tips for
my top tips are I ran a little magical AF Christmas challenge not so long ago, and we talked about all of these tips and how to make it magical and special. And my top tip is to be as kind and loving and gentle with yourself as possible, and really up the treats, up the gifts, up the spoiling yourself, make yourself feel good and gorgeous and cozy and looked after, because you are absolutely so worth it. Um, and a lot of people in the challenge were like, oh yeah, I'm going to buy myself this, I don't know what was it, somebody said cashmere jumper because it just feels so warming. And other people were like, yeah, hot chocolate and the alcohol-free drink that make me feel special. So definitely, because you know, sobriety and sober got these kind of negative connotations where it's all grey and dull and boring, and often people don't want to stop because of that perception. But I like to think of it as completely the opposite. It's an amazing, wonderful, loving thing. So you deserve to, like you said before, live life in full HD technicolor. So, you know, treat yourself, look after yourself, buy the books, the music, the lipstick, you know, whatever, because you absolutely deserve it. So that would be my top tip. Be really kind and loving and indulgent with yourself because you deserve
Excellent. Yeah, good advice.
it. Yeah,
And you should do that all year round, actually.
you should. Yeah, yeah. Somebody in my group actually says that she buys herself little treats, you know, over time. And it could be something like a candle or a lipstick or a book or a scarf or, you know, a pair of earrings, just little things. And then whenever she's feeling a bit down, she'd go to her treat drawer and take out the candle or the chocolate bar, whatever, just to give herself a little boost in that moment, which I think is a lovely idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I always love to have cake nearby. I always
Oh,
think I've replaced the wine for tea and cake, and it's a new treat that we have in our home is to have nice cake available.
absolutely. I'm with you on that. And luckily, my youngest son loves baking cakes. He even bought
Oh,
himself a little
lovely.
mixer so you can make them even faster and fluffier. But I have to up the exercise because I've upped the cake. But you know what? I don't care.
Are you I think I saw on your page that you're into running. Is that right? Because
Wow.
am I right in thinking that is it you and your husband run?
No, he doesn't run.
Oh, he
And
doesn't run.
I did put something on my page because I did start the Couch to 5K again because I've done it before and stopped and started. And I thought, yeah, I'll do it again because I do like it when I'm out there. So I did 2 weeks, and then the weather, and this is probably an excuse, but when it's -2 and windy and rainy, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to go through.
Yeah.
Walk I can bear when you're all wrapped up, but I'm not running it when it's -2. So I'll have to wait until the weather gets a bit warmer. But I agree with you, being outdoors in nature, whatever you're doing, is a real mood lifter. I think you get those happy hormones.
Yeah, I can see with running there's a real parallel between running and not drinking. Like some of the challenges that you set yourselves, you know, like when you don't when you when you're thinking about not drinking and you're at that day one, the thought of, you know, of getting to 1,000 days just seems impossible. And it's a little bit like when you can't run, the thought of running up that hill, you go, oh well, I'll never be able to run up that's just impossible. And
Mm.
actually during the lockdown and COVID, I discovered running. And my son said to me one day, because we were getting up really early, we're going on these walks in the woods because I was a bit overwhelmed by it all, and I could feel myself sort of struggling. So we were getting up at 6. Well, he got up at 6 anyway. So he was only 6. He's very small, and we go on
Oh,
these walks in the woods, and he'd hold my hand, and he was ever so
oh,
sweet. And it was beautiful. And I just thought, oh wow, this is just such a lovely thing to do. I don't want to end this. I want to carry on doing this, walking with him. Anyway, one day he said to me, Mummy, can we run? And I said, oh no, Mummy doesn't run. And he said, oh please, Mummy. He said, I'll hold your hand. He said, listen to your heart and listen to your head. He said, and when your heart and your head tells you it's time to stop running, Mummy, we'll stop. And I said, oh okay. I couldn't say no to that, could I? So I held his hand and we ran. And we ran for about 10 seconds, not very long. And he said, Mummy, my head and my heart is telling me it's time to stop running. And I said, oh, okay. And I was quite relieved. I thought, oh, thank God for that. And then after a little while, he said, I think my heart and my head's telling me to start running again. So anyway, we did this sort of intermittent walking and running, very, very slow. He's only got little legs. I was very grateful that he was so kind and his heart and his head told him to stop running. And we did that every day. And then he said to me, like on day 3 or 4, Mummy, I think you're doing really well. He said, I think you're getting faster, Mummy. And he was just so kind. And his little voice and his little words of encouragement. And after about a week, he got bored of running and he got bored of going for the walks. And I thought to myself, do you know what? I think I'm going to carry this on. I actually feel like I am getting better. And weirdly, well, not weirdly, in a lovely way, his words that listen to your heart, listen to your head, they were so kind that I carried that in my head with me when I started doing running on my own, and I could hear his little voice. And normally when I would go running, I'd have this horrible voice in my head saying, oh, look at you, you big red face, look at you, you're so fat, you can't do this, who are you kidding? And I'd just give up, and that would be my normal negative inner critic voice. But instead I had his kind words in my head just saying, you know, it's fine, if you want to stop, you can stop. But if you want to carry on, you can carry on. So it just took this pressure off me. And so I carried on doing the walking, running. And I remember there was this hill that I thought, oh, I'm never going to be able to run up that. And that for me was just symbolic of the mental blocks that you put in your own way. They're not real. They're just these sort of challenges, these blocks that you put in your like obstacles that you think, oh, I'm never going to get past that, I'm never going to be able to do that. And you have this voice that's just not helpful in any way. And so, but I just love that parallel between the running and life and the not drinking. And so there was this hill that I just always used to walk it, because I just thought, well, I can't do that, that's just too hard, and I'll just never be able to do it. And over time I had to sort of talk to myself and talk myself out of this negative self-talk and this self-doubt that I have a lot of self-doubt. So it's like a pattern of behavior that I have in my life. And by doing that running, I could sort of see, you know, how you know, and recognize how I talk to myself. Anyway, one day I thought to myself, I'm not going to look at the top of the hill. I'm just going to concentrate on my feet. And I started just running very slowly, really gently, and one foot in front of the other, and I just concentrated on my feet. And I thought, I'm not going to look up, I'm not looking up. And I just went, and it took me a long time, and I got to the top of that hill, and I thought to myself, that is like when you don't drink. If you started on day 1 thinking, I've got to get to a day 1,000, you'd never do it. And I think having that sort of approach of just going, you know, one day at a time, just don't look up, don't look at that hill ahead of you. There's no point thinking, oh, I've got to get to this day or that day. Just do one day at a time. And before you know it, you'll be at the top of the hill, like I am today, which is why I'm so excited. And you'll look back and go, wow, I've done 1,000 days, or I've done the whole hill. And before you know it, you'll have done it. And it's just such an amazing feeling. And just silence that inner critic, just push that voice away and replace it with some kind words. That would be my top tip for being sober.
Oh, I love it.
I did have a mantra when I first gave up drinking, which I'd forgotten about. I think that's another thing I would really advise anyone who's thinking about stopping drinking, is to find a mantra that means something to you, and tell yourself that as often as you can. And my mantra at the time was, I choose life. And I felt like by giving up drinking, I was choosing to live. And that was a really powerful mantra or words for me. And every time I thought about having a drink, I was like, no, I choose life. So yeah, have you had a similar sort of mantra or anything like that?
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, and I changed them up quite a long time. Something that helped me in the beginning was, it's not so much a mantra, but it was the quote by Michael Jordan. And it goes, once I made the decision, I never thought about it again. And I kept that quite close to me. I thought, okay, I've made the decision. Now I'm just not going to think about it. I'm not going to think about, oh, shall I, shouldn't I? Because that's gone, that decision's been made. So that helped me through the beginning quite a lot. But yeah, I agree, choosing something that lifts you up, makes you feel positive. Anything it can be, I can and I will, or today I choose me, or I choose love over fear. There's lots of different ones that you can pick, but having something that really means something to you is such a powerful thing to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm.
I like your quote. That's very well, that would have resonated very well with me, because when I gave up drinking, that was what I did. I just made that decision, and then that gave me the freedom to never have to think about that again, because there was no other choice. It's not like, oh, well, you could have one if you wanted to, because it was just done. As you just said, the decision's been made. Now think about something else.
Yeah, and for me, the liberation, like in my
Yeah.
head, it was just wow. No longer are these thoughts, all consuming all the time. It was just like they floated away when that decision was made. And it was
absolutely
quite amazing, actually.
And you're not bartering with yourself, are you? You're not thinking, well, I could just have one and then tomorrow I won't have any, or or I'll just drink at the weekends and I won't have anything in the week, and all of that stuff, which just takes up too much space in your head. Once you make that decision, it is very liberating. I call it alcohol freedom.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
It is, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, I think we'll end on that really, really positive, inspiring, empowering note, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gail. It's been such a lovely way to celebrate, and it's been so lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.